Good morning, church. All right, I shall read some announcements. The first one is Bon Voyage, Reverend Gary and Dory. All right. You are all invited to Reverend Gary and Dory Kowalski's farewell gathering immediately after this service. That's a little loud, because I'll boom. Thank you. You don't want to miss the marvelous chocolate cake that is not only vegan, but has some very special decorations on top. You'll have to see it to believe it. Be ready to share with Reverend Gary your words of gratitude for his many services to our congregation, whether through moving sermons, several fascinating workshops, caring visits with those in need, his Friday chat and choose, or words of encouragement to the staff, board members, yada, yada. Okay. There were two announcements sent out about scams. Please do not respond if you receive requests for money, gift cards. The group emails sometimes receive bogus requests to change someone's payroll information. This is all a scam. Please delete and disregard. There are four basic signs of a scam. Scammers pretend to be from a familiar organization or agency like Social Security Administration. Social Security Administration announced that there were $500 million of scams last year in 22. People lost that much money. Scammers mention a problem or a prize. They may say your Social Security number was involved in a crime or ask for personal information to process. Scammers pressure you to act immediately. They may threaten you with arrest or legal action. Scammers tell you to pay using a gift card, prepaid debit card, cryptocurrency. No one's going to ask for cryptocurrency anymore. All right. Wire or money transfer by mailing cash. Ignore scammers and report criminal behavior. All right, Sherry sent that email out. Tomball Gallery, pastels and pencils, artwork by Mark Morden. That's going on until Sunday, June 2nd. The library is open, the church office is open next week. That's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 10 a.m. to 1. It will be closed on Wednesday. Climate Action Group is having a Zoom meeting tomorrow James. Yes, I just punched a hole through it, that's all. I was coming to it. Death Cafe. Death Cafe is run by Brooks Lewis, and it is one of the few things that Brooks takes seriously. Brooks has been volunteering for Messiah Valley Hospice for a number of years and has taken a lot of training to be a death doula. He does, if you need to talk about anything, Brooks could be a way of helping you get through a tough time. There, Friday the 19th, there will be an eating out. Please RSVP to eating out at UUCLC.org. Sometimes people get confused between UUCLC, the designation that I think we have for our own personal church whatever it is. Yes, but UUCLC.org is Lake County, California. All right, you want to get to UU Church, UUCLC. Okay. Next week, John Seeley is the service leader, and Charlie Schultz is the service assistant. John's topic is homilies for 2022, the full story, where he will provide a retro look at sermons over the last 12 months, celebrating our creativity and community. Charlie and John will be joined by the UUCLC Church Choir and its final performance of the season with 4 hymns written for this church and a surprise or two. Yeah, it'll be a surprise. Okay, all right. Yeah.
Good morning. And welcome. So good to see you this morning. We'll begin with a song together, Joyce Poley's One More Step. And I would invite you to join the choir and sing it like the choir. So with that in mind, I'm going to invite the people who identify with higher voices to sing the first and second verses, as well as the last verse. And then everyone else come in on the third verse. And I think there's a little note on the slide that will help remind you about that. So please rise and body your spirit as we sing together, high voices first.
We will take one more
Yellow. All right. I wish to formally welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Las Cruces. We welcome those of you who are in the sanctuary this morning and those who are joining us via our YouTube channel. Reverend Kowalski is our service leader and completing his final assignment as one of our consulting ministers. And an all-around good guy. All right. Catherine Massey is our director of music, and Kelly Ingram is our director of religious education. Our greeters today are Diane Lee, Lisa Peterson, and Sarah Thomas. Managing our technology, Elwin Nunn, Mike Yasko, and Claire Wallace. All right. Oh, membership committee is offering hospitality after the service. Hi, wife. Okay, Unitarian Universalism has no creed nor dogma. We are a covenant-based church, meaning that we agree to live with relationship to each other according to the UU's principles and our congregation's covenant of right relations. We embrace diversity in all of its forms, and everyone is welcome. You can learn more about our church at our website, uuchurchlc.org. If you are visiting today, we would like to meet you. I did not spill anything. Okay, all right. So if you will raise a hand, I will come around with the microphone and ask you to introduce yourselves and tell us where you're from. Visitors. All right. Excuse me.
We're Russell and Allison Hom Crozier. We're first UU members of San Antonio. First UU San Antonio members.
And you're new in Texas, right? Okay.
Good morning. I'm
Wait.
wait. Now, ready? Okay, go. Hi, I'm delighted to be here. I travel on the road back and forth across the nation. Home church was Montpelier, Vermont, until I got sick of the snow, and now I stay out in the desert, and I'm traveling back home.
Pardon me.
I'm Jim McClellan, my wife Angela McClellan. Jim McClellan. Oh, I can hear myself now. My wife Angela McClellan, we're just new to the area. Been in the area about a year and a half, so first time comers. So anyways, good to be here.
Okay. We are glad to have you, and just want you to join with us after the service in the Unitarian Universalist communion with coffee, cookies, and conversation just down yonder. And there's going to be a cake, special cake. Yeah, okay. All right. The opening words, Even in the Broken Places, by Becky Brooks. Mother's Day is complicated. Joyful for many, yes, but complicated. It's right there on the calendar, even if your mother has died, even if you've been told yet again that you're still not pregnant, or if you have never been more scared than you are right now because you are pregnant, it's Mother's Day. Even if your own mother's priorities included everything but you, there's going to be a Mother's Day Google Doodle with flowers and pink stuff. Even if you have scars, ones you can see or ones you can't, it's Mother's Day. That cake mix commercial is going to roll out 4 times an hour, even when you can't stop shaking and crying because you can't believe you slapped your boy today. It's Mother's Day. And we all have to live with that in those silent, breathless moments, because even when the baby dies, it's Mother's Day. And so let's go to church. Let's be a church where we can acknowledge how difficult it is to have this day, right alongside how joyful this day can be. Let's be a church where we don't pretend there aren't inky depths of space between us, even when we sing. Let's be a church that fills the space between our differences with love. Because even in the most broken places, there is room for love. We can be that church. Our childless lighting today is "We Can Trust the Light." May we remember that this flame we light has a source other than us, one we can't control but can count on. And so today, may we lean into trust enough to let go, to put the vigilance down, to pause and stop all the striving. We can trust the light. May this be the faith we rekindle today. Would you rise and say with me our affirmation of covenant, followed by the doxology in English and Spanish. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is our sacrament.
Good morning, church. Good morning. Happy Mama's Day. Moms come in all shapes and sizes. There's so many different ways to be a mom. Today's your day. Today I'll be reading a short from the Velveteen Rabbit. "What is real?" asked the rabbit one day when they were laying side by side near the nursery by the nursery fender before Nana came in to tidy the room. "Does it mean having things that buzz inside you and a stick-out handle?" "Real isn't how you are made," said the skin horse. "It's a thing that happens to you. When a child loves you for a long, long time, not just play with, but really loves you, then you become real. Does it hurt? Asked the rabbit. Sometimes, said the skin horse, for he was always truthful. When you are real, you don't mind being hurt. Does it happen all at once, like being wound up, he asked, or bit by bit? It doesn't happen all at once, said the skin horse. You become. It takes a long time. That's why it doesn't happen often to people who break easily or have sharp edges or have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been loved off, and your eyes drop out, and you get loose in your joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you can't be ugly, except to people who don't understand. Thank you.
Our opening hymn is number 34, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire. I invite you to rise in body or spirit to sing together.
My wife brought home the Maverick Cookbook by Lynn Klein. See why I just didn't say Lynn brought home? Okay. Well, chapter 1, Pueblo Grandmother, starts with this Pueblo Indian prayer. Hold on to what is good, even if it's a handful of earth. Hold on to what you believe, even if it's a tree that stands by itself. Hold on to what you must do, even if it's a long way from here. Hold on to your life, even if it's easier to let go. Hold on to my hand, even if someday I'll be gone away from you. Sharing joys and sorrows is a way of holding on to one another for this congregation. If you have a joy, sorrow, or even a mixed blessing you would like to share, please raise your hand and I will bring you the microphone. Please tell us your name, for none of us knows all of us. And a gentle reminder, please refrain from making announcements. Joys and sorrows.
I've suffered some roof damage up at Cloudcroft and then at my home here in Las Cruces. And I've been dealing with charlatans, insurance agents, contractors, sometimes all three. And it's exhausting. And one thing I've realized is none of them are on my side. So it's been a lot of work. So any positive energy or prayers my direction, I'd appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob.
Good morning. I'm Tom Packard. I have a mixed joy and sorrow. All of us who have cell phones and iPads and computers and electric cars have to be aware of the fact that the main ingredient in all of these products is cobalt, and it comes from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The book I have just finished reading, which I recommend to all of you, is called Cobalt Red. The author is Siddhartha Rama. He talks about the little children as young as 3 and 4 and 5 going down into tunnels without any air, without any light, and extracting this mineral, which comes in the form of what they call heterogenite. It contains copper, it contains zinc, it contains lead, it contains cobalt. Great many toxic materials that come up with the cobalt. So if you really want to be made aware of what's going on, especially in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which contains 70% of the world's cobalt, you really ought to read this book if you can get a hold of it. Thank you.
I have a joy to see Eileen Steele here.
I'm Jenny Herrick, and I have a sorrow. Jerry Natchison, yesterday around 4 a.m. in the morning, was on his way to the bathroom, and he fell, and he hit his head, and he has a gash in his forehead, and he was taken to Mountain View Hospital, and they did tests yesterday, and they haven't determined the results of those yet. And once they determine the results, they'll decide, what he'll need to do next. So keep him in your mind.
Well, what? Oh, okay, David.
Eileen and I have a joy, and that's the fact that she's here. And the greater part of the joy, though, are the gratitude that we feel to the members of this congregation. It's been a year-plus long marathon that we've been on. Eileen has unfortunately had to run all of it, but she is on the mend now. But we want to thank you all for the kind words by way of cards, emails, texts, the food that has been brought to us that has expanded my waistline, and just being there, supporting us through this long, difficult time. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to thank everybody for the visits and the cards and the emails and the calls. And it's been really wonderful to know you care about me. Thank you.
Actually, I have a joy. I don't know how many of you read the little piece I wrote for this month's Light about the fine dining, where I mentioned I couldn't think of anything, but I was feeling like a mole, and my practical wife told me, no, that's too difficult. Well, you don't mention anything about food around Elwin Nunn and Peggy Devlin, because last night at the J. Paul Taylor Detention Center, we had mole chicken, Mexican street corn, and potato salad, and you knew it was going over well when the young men started taking Katie's rolls, the ones that they hadn't eaten already, and started making sandwiches, okay, and wrapping them up. And as one young man said to me as he was leaving, that was exquisite. I will light another candle for all the things that were shared and the things that were held too deeply in our hearts to express in public.
Good morning. Many of you know that the very first Mother's Day was not only an occasion for flowers and celebration and phone calls. It was conceived by the Unitarian suffragist Julia Ward Howe as a time for women all over the world to bring their energy together to work for peace. So this morning, for our meditation, I invite you to turn your thoughts to all those people in our world who are menaced by war. In the Ukraine, in Sudan, in Yemen, in Myanmar, and elsewhere. As I share with you her first Mother's Day proclamation. Arise, women of this day, arise, all women who have hearts. Whether your baptism be of water or tears, say firmly, we will not have questions answered by irrelevant agencies. Our husbands will not come to us reeking of carnage for caresses and applause. Our sons will not be taken from us to unlearn all we've been able to teach them of charity and mercy and patience. We, the women of one country, will be too tender to those of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs. From the voice of a devastated earth, a voice goes up with our own saying, disarm. And so we join now in a moment of silent solidarity with all those who live where the fighting rages and whose simple prayer daily is to live without fear. May there be peace on earth, and may it begin here with us. Amen.
Today's reading was written by Reverend Nancy Ladd, the minister of the River Road Unitarian Universalist Church in Bethesda, Maryland. This is an excerpt of a sermon she delivered to the UU General Assembly in 2016. You remember perhaps the classic wedding reading from Corinthians, which says, "If I speak in the tongues of mortals or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing." That letter from the Apostle Paul, to the early Christian community in Corinth has nothing whatsoever to do with weddings. That's a letter from an overextended pastor with occasionally dubious judgment to a congregation whose leaders are in a constant state of fierce and unremitting conflict. The early Christians in Corinth congregation were literally shouting their prayers like clanging cymbals over top one another to try and prove who was the better at praying. They were making faith into a contest and whether he was saintly or not. Paul was having none of it. The collective wisdom of the ages reminds us that the stakes are high and the ultimate prize we must reach out for in community is greater than the imagined divisions and trumped up arguments that pull us apart.
Love is patient and kind. Doesn't envy, doesn't boast, it's not proud. It doesn't dishonor others. It's not self-seeking, not easily angered, keeps no record of wrongs. Love doesn't delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. Love never fails. Where there's prophecies, they'll cease. Where there's tongues, they'll be stilled. Knowledge will pass away. For now we know in part and prophesy in part, but when completeness comes, the partial disappears. When I was a child, I spoke and thought and reasoned like a child, but when I became an adult, I gave up childish ways. For now we see like a reflection in a mirror, but then face to face. And now I know in part, but then I'll know fully, even as I myself am fully known. And so these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest is love. Niceness gets a bad rap. You all know it. Nice guys finish last. And rightly or wrongly, my wife likes this part. She says it's true. She says many women actually prefer the bad boys. And then there's the corollary to that, that well-behaved women seldom make history, right? Niceness just seems a little bit namby-pamby. There's a quote attributed to Alice Roosevelt Longworth: "If you don't have anything nice to say, come sit by me." In other words, tell me all the spicy details. The scandals at least aren't going to put me to sleep. And most folks would agree that it is nice to be at least a little bit naughty, to add a touch of bitters to that old-fashioned, to cut the sweetness. Nobody likes a goody two-shoes. And yet, when I was just starting out in ministry over 40 years ago, 27 years old and very wet behind the ears, an older and wiser colleague took me aside and told me that 90% of my job involved just being nice to other people. And imagine if I had known that earlier, I wouldn't have had to go to Harvard Divinity School. I could have saved 3 years and a bunch of money. But as it turned out, I didn't have that much use to use my New Testament exegesis or my systematic theology in my first congregation, but that advice to be nice stuck with me over the years and has been very useful. Now, I suppose the opposite of being nice is being mean. And it seems like there's way too much gratuitous meanness just floating around. People trading insults, name-calling, violence, threats of violence, raised voices, people shouting at school board meetings, neighbors suing each other just to be litigious. There's a woman up where we live in Santa Fe. She's very notorious for bringing the other people in her homeowners association to court. She likes to litigate because they have chickens in their yard, or they have solar panels, or their rain barrels are the wrong color or visible from the road. She's a pain in the neck, and she knows it herself, and she clearly relishes that role. That's her job in the world, to make other people miserable. And there's a word for that, Schadenfreude, which is German, meaning you take delight in other people's misfortune. And nice people, on the other hand, they're cooperative, they're helpful, they extend the benefit of the doubt. They usually tend to say please and thank you, and above all, they know how to say, I beg your pardon, and I'm sorry. Because nice people are team players, they overlook a lot, they prefer to grease the wheels rather than gum up the works. And yet, ordinary social relations, just getting along with other people, it makes it hard to be nice, because human beings, while they are occasionally charming, you may have noticed they're also cranky, often petty, insensitive, insecure, irritable, irascible. I mean, let's face it, people can just be hard to get along with. I'm not talking about any of you people. I'm talking about those other people. Churches, in particular, have always been full of conflict, full of the push and pull of differing personalities and competing agendas. And the earliest records we have of the Christian church are the letters of Paul, who lived contemporaneously with Peter and Mary Magdalene and all those other original disciples. And even though Paul never actually met the man that he considered to be the Messiah, he became this kind of traveling missionary. He was corresponding with networks of these Jesus people in Corinth and Galatia and Ephesus and Rome. And in all of these letters that he's wrote, he's addressing bickering and in the congregations. So to the Corinthians, he says, "Brothers, I have been told that there is quarreling among you," really. And what are the Corinthians jostling over? You know, they're fighting about everything. They're fighting about whether Christians have to be circumcised, whether they're still Jews. They're fighting about what kind of diet they should follow. They're fighting about